This episode is brought to you by Cellular Performance Institute. Is your body beat up and broken down? Look into stem cells today. It could change your life. Go to cellularperformanceinstitute.com. Join Sam Tripoli and I on the road for Tinfoil Hat Comedy, October 10th in Tulsa, October 11th in Oklahoma City, November 21st in Las Vegas. Go to samtripoli.com for tickets. See you on the road.
I can't believe I won.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Look Into It Tonight. Back on the show for like the fifth time, the man, the myth, Ryan Dawson. What's up, dude?
I am covering all the news. I just made this giant 9/11 map. You can see it behind me there. It's as big as the whole bookshelf. You got a new
9/11 documentary coming out, right?
Coming out October 7th.
Hell yeah. And what's the new information in this one?
So much new stuff, man. Like
what is like the most mind-blowing shit that you just discovered since making this documentary? Like, was there anything?
Well, we got a lot of the intermediaries in Al Qaeda, which tied to more money laundering, which goes back to states, Saudi Arabia and Israel, which we already had, but it's overkill. But since about 2021 to now, some of the like FBI and CIA handlers are dead, so the information's out now. We know who Muppet was, for example. Like, there were intelligence assets living with 9/11 hijackers and reporting. We know a lot more about what the NSA was covering up. We already knew a lot about the CIA. Everybody knew about that, but more on the cover up from the FBI, more on a cover up from the NSA, and more ties back to state actors. Very similar to Iran-Contra, very similar to what happened in Syria, where, I mean, there's three major covert actions in our lifetime where the government secretly supported terrorist groups. And that was Operation Cyclone, which is the original war in Afghanistan, Operation Eagle Claw, which we call Iran-Contra, and then Timber Sycamore, where they covertly sponsored terrorists in Syria. Now, young people are familiar with that one because they lived through it. Like, there was no question that the terrorist groups in Syria were getting state sponsorship. That was not some organic rebellion. And that's what happened on 9/11 as well. You have Al Qaeda, which is a legitimate terrorist organization, but they were not independent actors. They were getting state support, and our own government let it happen. I feel like it was worse than that. They ensured that it was going to happen.
And so what I know there's multiple reasons for 9/11, but what was the main reason? Just to get us in
replacing the Cold War? Yeah, it's you're talking about, well, the main reason is because Israel completely owns the United States foreign policy with it. But even with the lobby, even with blackmail from Epstein-style sex rings, you can't just go to war over nothing and have the public accept that. We're like, wait, why are we in Iraq? Why are we in Libya? There's no point, right? But after 9/11, nobody cared. And the way they got the Iraq war going was by pretending like Saddam Hussein has something to do with 9/11 hijackers. Remember, they said that there was this meeting in Prague, and Iraqis gave anthrax to Mohammed Atta. Mohammed Atta's the guy that slammed the Flight 11 into the North Tower. It wasn't true. There was no meeting in Prague. There was no anthrax. There were no mobile weapons labs. There were no any kind of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. But they could lie long enough that by the time the lies got debunked, it was too late. We'd already killed almost 1 million people and invaded Baghdad. And Saddam Hussein's trial was crap. They didn't even cover it. His lawyers were murdered in the middle of it, and they just hanged him, and that was that. But if you go back and look at it, and this isn't defending Saddam like he was some great person or anything, just saying they had nothing to do with 9/11, because that's a fact. They had nothing to do with sending anthrax, and that's a fact. So what I do is I trace, well, where do these lies start? And every single time it comes from Israelis or hardcore Jewish supremacist Americans.
Now,
They're like, gee, who, what? Yeah, you can say Lockheed Martin and all these like profiteers in the military wanted, giant budgets, and I'm sure they did. But who do we go to war with? All of Israel's enemies.
what is the goal of Netanyahu? Like, what's the end game? Just like to have like greater Israel, just a bigger Israel?
He wants to completely eliminate any even potential military or economic rival to his state, so that they can carte blanche, ethnic cleanse, and grab more land. They've already grabbed a piece of Syria. They're grabbing more of the West Bank. They've completely obliterated Gaza. I mean, it is sad. You look at the drone footage, and it's like every house in Khan Yunis in Gaza City just rubble, destroyed. And they're going to annex it. They're going to come in later with, Jewish settlers who aren't really Jewish. They're a bunch of Europeans role playing as Jews, but they're going to go in there and steal it. And it won't stop there. They want to go into Lebanon. They'd like to have the Sinai Peninsula back. Took it twice, and had to return it to Egypt. They're looking for a land grab. These people are lunatics. They think Yahweh, God of the Old Testament, gave them land. Because, there's a wrestling match with Jacob and an angel, and he said, that land belongs to my ethnic group. It's horse shit, but it's power. And there are a lot of industries that are addicted to war that need perpetual conflict. And so when you can get religious fanatics to fight, there's no way to resolve that. And I mean, radical Islam, radical Judaism, doesn't matter. Christian Zion, they're all nuts, but they have a predictable consequence, which is endless fighting, because you can't resolve a religious conflict. It's like arguing about who has the better invisible man. So they're just going to fight forever and ever.
Man, it's so fucking confusing, man. Everything, it's like, if the Jews run Hollywood and the media, why are Hollywood celebrities like pro-Palestine? Like, I don't get
Because
that.
anybody like with an IQ above room temperature is pro-Palestine. It's hard. It doesn't matter. Like, you can't shoot babies. And they've gotten to that point where they're shooting children who are going to get flour because they're starving to death. And most of Hollywood was not pro-Palestine until super recently, because Israel just started killing so many. So every day they killed 84 people yesterday. None of them Hamas. They're just murdering people. And, the other big thing is when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he kind of liberated, he broke the Zionist monopoly on media. Like, I'm on Twitter. If I'm on Twitter, just about anybody can be on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. And so for the very first time in their life, they're actually able to see that Israeli snipers shoot kids, that they've blown up churches, they've blown up mosques, they blow up hospitals, and they go, oh, there's a tunnel under there. No, there isn't. They just destroy whatever they want, and they're losing their, oh yeah, look at that. You gonna tell me every single house there had a tunnel or a militant? No, this is ethnic cleansing. And I believe it's even worse than that now. I mean, they're showing like a little bit of them building in the center there. What is that, 4 floors left? Look at that. And even when they go to refugee camps in like Ramallah, they'll bomb those too. They have nothing to eat. They have no possessions other than what's on their backs.
I saw this pro-Palestine image, and it was like split. It was like before these bombings, and after. And then the after, of course, you see this. But
Yeah.
and it's pro-Palestine. And the before, it looks beautiful. There's a coastline. It looks like LA. It looks really nice. So what they're saying is it used to be nice, now it's rubble. That's pro-Palestine, right? But isn't that what the Israelis are saying? The Israelis were saying, yeah, it was nice. It was always nice. It wasn't apartheid. It was nice. Yeah, you're showing that it's nice. Like, and then October 7th happened, so we had to destroy it. Do you see what I'm saying? You see how confusing that is? Like, that's a pro-Palestine.
It's better than rubble, but it wasn't. You have to see, Israelis would go in and routinely destroy things every couple of years. They had cast lead, or they went in and blew things up in 2006. They call it mowing the lawn. Like anytime the grass gets too long, they go and mow the lawn. And they'll blow up. They blow up medical centers. They blow up media centers. They'll blow up agriculture, water treatment facilities, things that will affect the entire population. And then they created dependency on Israel, like for electricity, sewage, and basic infrastructure. They have to pay the Israelis to have access to it because Israel will not let them build their own. They're perfectly capable of building their own, but every time they do it, the Israelis will come by and destroy it. So you look at before October 7th, there was cast lead, thousands killed, protective edge, thousands killed, pillar of defense, hundreds of people killed, a lot of infrastructure destroyed. You had the March for Peace from 2018 and 19, where every Friday Israeli snipers would go in and just start shooting families in the knees, in the nuts. Sometimes they just dome them and kill them. And they film themselves doing it, like laughing about it. Look, I'm going to get the one in the blue shirt and just boom. And
where are these films? I've never seen these.
So what happened is they would go to the wall. Here's another thing. Gaza has a wall wrapped around it with gun turrets and drones looking at them 24/7. This is why, like October 7th, they definitely let it happen. They don't have a seaport. They don't have an airport. They're not in control of their own utilities. And the Israelis can kill them whenever they want. In 2023, prior to October 7th, just from January to September 30th, they had murdered 233 Palestinians. And zero news about any of it. Can you imagine 233 Jews being murdered and not one story ever? No way. It would never happen. They desecrate their mosque. They were doing rituals and sacrifices and things in the Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa Mosque. They brutalized the West Bank. There's home demolitions. Sometimes they'll just move into a home and say, well, if I didn't do it, someone else would. Just go in. Imagine a family just coming in and squatting in your living room and saying, God gave it to me. And they just sit there and you can't do anything. You can't throw them out of your house. If you touch them, you go to jail. So they can just come in and take your stuff and you're forced to leave. And they do this in the West Bank. Now in Gaza, they had settlements until 2005. Oh, yeah, look at that. Jesus, they had settlements until 2005, and Bush had the roadmap for peace. It's one of the only good things Bush ever did, where he forced them to remove their settlements. And settlement isn't a nice word for a racial colony. It's where they just move in, steal property, and it's for Jews and Jews only, and no one else can be there. They got out, but the day after they moved the settlers out, they went in and bombed Gaza. And so they ended up electing Hamas in 2006, but Hamas was the last option after everything else didn't work. And it's actually a party financed by the Israelis through Qatar because they didn't want to deal with the PLO, which was a secular government that was trying to do deals, became very close to getting on with Yitzhak Rabin, an Israeli prime minister who the Israelis then assassinated. It was Likud that killed their own prime minister. And ever since they took power, there's never been a deal, and they just continue to kill and steal land and blow up houses and shoot kids. And they have a policy now of starvation. It's like It's like ISIS in Syria. I mean, that's what the Likud government in Israel is like. These aren't like Jews that you know in LA. These aren't like normal people. These are total fanatics that think they're fighting Amalek.
Yeah, stem cells, they could do some wild shit down there.
You know, I got the stem cells in my shoulder. My shoulder was jacked. I went down there, worked, man.
Eric Anders' neck was up, and then he went down and got stem cell treatment. Now it doesn't bother him at all anymore.
I definitely recommend CPI. It's changed my life. The best stem cell clinic in the world.
I just come and I do stem cells to make sure that I'm resetting my body and staying healthy.
It regenerates tissue, reduces inflammation. The results are amazing.
CPI stem cells is where you want to go. There's no other place in town. They do the best work in the world. I feel incredible.
If there's anything causing you to not live the quality of life that you like, then this investment is more than worth it.
When it comes to the science of stem cells, no one comes close to CPI. There's not even a close second.
For a free doctor call to see if stem cells is the right option for you, visit us at cpistemcells.com.
Are they called Chabad Jews?
One faction is called Chabad, but it's spelled with a CH like Chabad.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a H. They don't have a H. They have like a KH. They have Chabad. But Chabad Leibovich is kind of a minor faction that gets a lot of unwarranted attention. Their whole thing is to try and convert secular Jews back into more theological religious Jews. And they get, there's a lot of like conspiracies about them. And those are the ones that had the dirty mattresses and tunnels in New York. Yeah, they're weird. Yeah, Chabad. But Likud is far more powerful and dangerous than Chabad. Likud has a government, nuclear weapons, Epstein, like all that's Likud. So that, they had blackmailed Ehud Barak, he's in like the Labor Party, which is also disgusting. Both parties suck. Epstein had him by the short hairs, and
isn't there two sides to Israel? Isn't like one side against Netanyahu, and then the other side's with him?
Yeah, there is definitely a faction that's anti-Netanyahu, but they're all like, it's kind of like in America, you have Democrats and Republicans, but Joe Biden supports the war. Trump supports the war. They pretend Trump will be like, "Oh, I'll have Ukraine ended in 24 hours." Now he's talking about giving them Tomahawk missiles. The war continues. Nothing changes. It doesn't matter. And that's how it is in Israel. Like, yeah, Likud is worse, a little bit, but they don't have a peace party. It doesn't exist. There's some I guess Orthodox Jews that are anti-war, but not because of any kind of moral reasons. They just don't like mandatory service and they don't want to be in the military. Yeah, that's all.
Is it kind of like the cartels in Mexico? There's a bunch of them and they have wars against each other. And
it's like, oh, well, it's better than Zeta. Well, Sinaloa. I mean, who cares? It's awful.
Yeah, so
I would argue the cartels in Mexico have a higher bar of morality than Israelis. That's pretty low because they skin people alive.
And they cut hearts out and put them on Instagram.
Israelis dump gasoline down a 16-year-old's throat and light him on fire from the inside out like a candle.
Fuck.
They rape prisoners. I mean, not only that. So, U.S. has raped prisoners, but they had to hide it. So if you look at Abu Ghraib in Iraq, the pyramids and the hooded, you remember all the torture. Everyone that when they came out, they were disgusted by that. You can't torture people. They did it, but they had to hide it from the American public. And people got prosecuted for torturing. And then we had this long discussion about waterboarding, blah, blah, blah. But, electrodes and popping eardrums, all the stuff that was going on in these dungeons, it got exposed. Seymour Hersh wrote about it, where they were sodomizing young Iraqi boys, and they were playing the screams and tapes from their mothers who were passing notes to their husbands to come and kill them. It was disgusting. But everybody got completely outraged when they discovered that we were torturing people in Abu Ghraib in a war that was started for no reason in the first place. But when it happens in Israel, when they're caught sodomizing Palestinian prisoners with like hot pieces of iron and stuff, the Israeli public cheered it on. They actually tried to break into the prison to get them out because they don't think raping goyim is even wrong. That's the difference. Like, our government's sick, but our citizenry, except for some hardcore Christian Zionists like Ted Cruz, we don't believe in torture. We don't believe in rape. We don't believe in bombing apartments and things. You can't do that. But in Israel, the more you do that, the more popular you are.
Now, you mentioned Ted Cruz. What did you think of how Tucker Carlson was
bisexual?
What was that?
Ted Cruz is queer as a football bat.
What did you think of Tucker Carlson's grilling of him?
Oh, that was hilarious.
Was that legit, or was that was like?
Well, even like Tucker is like, he's like halfway there, right? He used to be total bomb Iran, supported the Iraq War. He used to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But you can tell, especially after he got fired, a little bit before that, that's why he got fired. He started questioning January 6th. He started questioning 2020 election. He was definitely questioning the COVID hysteria, which you were not allowed to do. So like on certain issues, he was like, oh, he could kind of like see in the light. But like the final boss is Israel, because they have the most power. They have the strongest lobby. That's like the one. And when Tucker started saying Epstein was a Mossad asset, I think he said agent. He got it wrong, but he got pretty close. Asset and agent are different. But he connected Epstein to Israel.
What's the difference?
Well, he's not like he's not on the payroll of the Mossad. That would be stupid. Epstein was an American. He's an asset that has ties to Israeli intelligence. But just like, first of all, it wasn't Mossad, it was military intelligence. Same thing that his girlfriend's father, Robert Maxwell, he was an asset in Britain for Israeli intelligence. But they have many different groups. And what happens is Americans just call all of them Mossad. And that's like calling all of ours CIA. But it's not always the CIA. Sometimes it's the State Department. Sometimes it's the FBI. Sometimes it's the NSA. Sometimes it's the DIA. Sometimes it's Army intelligence or Navy intelligence. We got a lot of groups, but people just kind of be like CIA and okay, close enough. And that's what happens is everyone just says Mossad because it's the one they know, but it wasn't Mossad, but it was still Israeli intelligence. It was military intelligence. He was supposed to be spying on science and technology in the U.S. and giving trade secrets to Israel. He was a major money launderer, but he was also, if we did give the cartel example, he was dipping in his own stash, and that's a no-no.
You're talking about Epstein?
Epstein, yeah, because he was fucking the kids too. It's like you're not supposed to do the drugs yourself, and he definitely was.
Damn. So what do you think happened to Charlie Kirk?
Well, I mean, they murdered him. It seems
so there's no chance that was fake, that he didn't get murdered, and it's like witness protection type of deal. There's zero chance of that, right? Because there's all these theories of what happened to him.
Oh yeah, they've gone nuts, and I blame the government. The reason there's so many conspiracies about Charlie Kirk is because they've constantly lied to you about everything else. And so whatever they say, well, not that, because yeah, you lied about COVID, you lied about Epstein, you lied about Hunter's laptop, you lied about Russiagate, you lied about every single war ever. Like there's all of them, Syria, Libya, Iraq, you lied constantly. So why would they believe you? Lying about Kennedy? You're lying about both Kennedys, actually. So no one wants to believe him, but he's definitely dead. Like he was a major asset for Donald Trump and Israel. They did not want him to die. He had $40 million from Jewish donors, particularly the same billionaires that they're on this list. I have the Epstein list right here. They're always like, "Oh, where is it?" Right here. Wrote them all down.
Is Donald Trump on that list?
Donald Trump was already messing around with his own modeling agency before Epstein was on the scene. So like he's he's more OG than Epstein. They definitely knew each other. He was friends with Glenn Maxwell. He knew what Epstein was doing. No victim. Well, there's a couple that got coached, but prior, and this is what happened. Anytime a celebrity gets accused of something, then suddenly there's like 40 women are like, oh yeah, I know that. Me too, me too, me too. So you have to be super skeptical about it. The victims that were talking about it prior to 2019, when it just blew up in the news, people had seen Trump. They'd never seen him engage in kitty fiddling though. And if that's the thing, you can't make somebody a pedophile. Like if they're not into kids, they're not into kids. Like most normal adults just aren't attracted to kids, but he's definitely into young women. He cheated on all his wives. He was lecherous. He chased tail all over the place. That's not illegal though. It's just, gross, but it's not illegal. However, he knew that Epstein was doing it, and most of the Trump donors are doing it. So he cannot release that list because his entire financial backbone is that list. Like he gets a lot of money from the same people that were on there. And that's who got targeted. People assume that Epstein went after congressmen and stuff like, why? Congressmen are exchangeable and they change every few years. Why would you put all the time and effort to blackmail a congressman when if you blackmail the donor class that owns all the congressmen, then you get everyone they have? Go for the head vampire. So if you get the people running AIPAC, then you have everybody that they've already put all this effort into getting. And that's all you need.
So Trump is not on the list of Lolita Express to the island, but his donors are. And that's why he's covering
So
it.
that's another point. There's two islands. Everyone says the island, Little St. Jeffreys. He had Greater St. Jeffreys too. He bought two islands. He also had an office in St. Thomas, which is the headquarters for the entire Virgin Islands. Most of the government for St. Thomas was on his payroll because Epstein was laundering money through a program in the Virgin Islands that would get you a 90% tax rebate. And so that was a major loophole for people to park their money in his LLCs and get, act like it's his to get a tax rebate, and he'd recycle it back. And this is why he would get like free houses and all these luxurious gifts because it was a way of paying them without actually paying them. It's like, oh,
sorry to interrupt, but did you
sell
guys,
you a house for 20 grand that's worth 78 million?
Did you guys see these new statues that just came out here?
Yeah, I know. They need Maxwell in there. I mean, she was closer to him than Epstein.
Who put those? Where are those statues and who made them?
DC.
Who put them up?
They put it right in front of the Capitol building. I don't know the group that put it up or who paid for it, but that's hilarious.
And then they took it down, right? I mean, they didn't leave
I'm
it up.
sure he wouldn't let. Yeah, no way. But that's pretty good. It's like that's pretty good. Although Epstein was more.
What about the story? Trump. What about the story of Trump going to the FBI or cooperating with the FBI in regards
that's
to?
Not true. Like,
that's not true.
Like, oh, he was an FBI informant. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. There was a major property dispute. I'll tell you the gambit. I won't bore people with money laundering, but you got to realize Epstein was at Bear Stearns and Tower Financial, and like he was working like white collar crime for a long time. One of the things he would do, one of his major backers is this guy named Les Wexner. And Les Wexner goes all the way back to the Sonneborn Institute and the people that were smuggling nuclear weapons, murdered JFK, those guys, right? Because Wexner's in his 80s. He's one of the last guys left of that generation that was around when they assassinated JFK. And his foundation has Epstein on it as a board of trustees, and he gave him hundreds of millions of dollars. Oh, there he is. Yeah, Les Wexner. Total pervert himself and deeply tied to the Israeli state. The Wexners and the Bronfmans are basically Wexner in Canada. and they knew Robert Miller, who was raping all those high school girls up in Canada with the custom made bathtub and the hockey bag and all that stuff. So what Wexner would do is he would buy property with Epstein. He created a company. They were the only two employees, and they would go and purchase assets, and then Wexner would sell it for more than what he bought it for and gift it to Epstein. And that way Epstein would get, something that has intrinsic value, like land and property. And in return, Epstein would move Wexner's money through his foundations in the Caribbean and avoid income taxes, which if you're a billionaire, it's worth it. I mean, you could save hundreds of millions of dollars, which he did. So one of these, they were trying this at a property in Mar-a-Lago there was on a fire sale. The guy's name was Grossman, some Jewish guy, whatever. He had gotten in trouble and he was selling it, and Wexner was trying to grab that property. But Trump had the adjacent property, so he wanted it too. And Trump knew what Epstein was doing. He knew the game, and he was doing the same thing. But his Les Wexner was this guy, Dmitry, this Russian oligarch, who is in the middle of a divorce. And so what that guy's motive was is like he was dumping his money into assets so he wouldn't have to give half to his wife. And then after the divorce, he'd just go and get them again. But he'd have some intermediary do it. And Oleg Boyka is the guy that ends up doing that for Trump, but he did that in Atlantic City too. But so Trump is basically purchasing property with Dimitri's money, and Epstein is purchasing property with Wexner's money. But Trump outbid him just barely and ends up with it for around $45 million, and he sold it 2 years later for $95 million. So he made a lot because he was guaranteed he's just going to sell it back to the Russians, who was basically avoiding losing it to his wife. Isn't that something? But that really pissed Wexner off, and that's when the friendship ended. It wasn't about Epstein being with young women. Trump didn't care. It wasn't about them using girls for commercial sex purposes, aka forced prostitution, which is sex slavery. That didn't bother Trump. And that didn't bother Wexner. It was, you undermined me on my property sale. That's what pissed him off. And so, but he didn't go to the FBI or anything. Like Epstein had already been busted once for child prostitution in the end of 2007 and proven by 2008. So Trump knew. But from 2014 on, they had no real relationship. And in fact, the Kushner clan, which also uses the same thing, honey traps and all that, they blackmailed Governor McGreevey from New Jersey, for example, with a sex kitten. They are real estate tycoons in New York and New Jersey, just like Trump, and end up marrying their families together because you have Trump's daughter marries Jared Kushner. Well, Charles Kushner, who's a convicted felon who went to jail, who set honey trap, all that. He is a rival with people like Mark Epstein, which is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, who's also a real estate tycoon in New York and New Jersey. And this is like
real quick though, with the whole Jared Kushner's father went to jail for what?
For illegal campaign financing. He also set up honey traps, which is when you pay a prostitute to sleep with somebody and then you film it and then you blackmail that person. He tried to blackmail his own brother-in-law.
The thing that I don't get about that is if he's so powerful and he's so with the Israeli intelligence, like how is he in jail? Like how did he not get away with it like everybody else?
Because he pissed off an even more powerful Jew, and that was his brother and his sister. So one of the things he was doing, Charles Kushner was trying to position himself to become the new president of the Port Authority, which is just run by a former president of AIPAC. So, but he wanted it. And the way you do that is the head of the Port Authority is appointed by the governor of New Jersey. New Jersey and New York split power. but because New York's a bigger state and has more oomph, they let the New Jersey governor appoint the leader. So it's very important to control the New Jersey governor, because that's who controls the chairman of the Port Authority. And the Port Authority, any port, airport, seaport, any kind of port, like major real estate contracts go through the PA. And so all these mob families are constantly trying to juxtapose the power to control the Port Authority so that they can get the lucrative contracts, often without a real bidding process or anything. It's just typical New York, grease and palms. And you've got the Gambinos there, you got Genovese, all the mob families in New York and New Jersey, and it's all bled together now. So Atlantic City is the same crooks. And in Trump's time, that would have been like Tony Salerno, Bob Labooty, like the same fuckers. So, and I know you know mob because we've talked mafia stuff a lot.
Oh man, no, I don't know the mob very well. I really do. I know. Good
the older mob like Lucchese and Lansky and stuff. I remember you talking to me about it.
Barely though, but not like you, dude. I mean,
no. Most people don't know the way I do, but I'm saying you. I know you've heard of Gambino. I know you've heard of the families. Like I don't have to. So, and they're still around. Like people like Tony Golubchik, for example. Antonio Golubchik got thrown in jail for an online gambling scam in the hundreds of millions of dollars. That's major mob, and he's a Trump guy, and he's a Witkoff guy. Steve Witkoff, who's now Trump's liaison to the Middle East, was also deeply tied to Israel through Eitan Wertheimer, but he's the one that would Trump never goes directly. He's always got a guy, so it never gets back to the boss. And Witkoff was his. You can think of him like the Al in Daredevil. He's the book guy that does all the dirty shit, and Trump doesn't put his hands on it. It's amazing how much
that him
are like Gotham. Yeah, that's him. Dirty rat.
That guy's Italian.
Witkoff is Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what's the relationship?
A lot of them are Italians. I mean, that's not just from Hollywood. That's a fact. But it's not doing it because they're Italian or because they're Jews. I mean, it's just that's who lives in New York.
Speaking of Italians in Italy, the Vatican. How powerful is the Vatican?
They used to be much more powerful. The Catholic Church has had to do a lot of its shit underground now because they don't run the show like they used to. I mean, when Catholic majority nations like Spain were on top, and they were for a while, they could, shoot, steal, do whatever they wanted, but they've been supplanted. Like they're much more. I mean, Protestants. What's the rich Catholic nation? What's the richest one? Italy, maybe. That's it. Italy, Poland, like
Ireland.
They're not wealthy. Like, yeah, I mean that is a first world country, but compare that to the United States, Britain, Germany, Canada. Like they're all majority Protestant.
What is the relationship between the Vatican and Israel?
Actually, the Vatican in the recent few popes they opposed the Iraq War, they oppose what Israel's doing, but they don't do anything about it. But if you look, the only states that were sending aid to this Gaza flotilla, Spain and Italy, two Catholic majority nations. But in Ireland too, like Ireland supports Palestine. So, but of the Protestants, you'll get in Scandinavia is majority non-religious. I mean, they're on paper, whatever, but they're mostly atheists. So Norway and places like that are also against Israel. But the Catholic Church, they have what they call Christian just war theory, and they did not support these wars. It's ironic because historically they were the worst. They supported every war ever, and crusades and all that stuff. But now they don't act like that anymore. It's they're not in charge. They actually
some people think the Pope is like the king of the world. He's not. That Pope doesn't have, like, there's a gray Pope and a black Pope and a white Pope. And why do they wear yarmulkes?
Yeah. Why does he have a skull cap?
Yeah, what is that about? What?
See, I mean, this is be a long ass story, but I think Christianity got hijacked all the way back to the First Council of Nicaea, where they gutted the Marcion Bible and removed books, and it got Judaized. Like the modern Christian faith is just Romanized Christianity, where it became a bolstering force for political institutions and like divine right of kings and things like that. And it's more about tithing and political power and gaining converts. So you gain money. So it's like kill, convert, collect. The theology from Christ is gone. There are very few Christians that like take that seriously. It's more of like their tribe where, I'm a this, I'm a that, because their parents were that, and they don't even know the difference between the different sects. It's lost. And a lot of Christians like don't go to church, maybe like Easter and Christmas, like twice a year. They don't actually study the text. It's not a serious thing, but they still have serious prejudice and all that, but they don't really like sincerely take the message in, like love thy neighbor as thyself. We're murdering our neighbors. Like what? So I don't, cause like, I don't think anybody's really Christian. Like all these people say they are, but like, nah, you're not. If you don't actually follow it, then you're entitled only. And that's most religions. Like most Muslims aren't Muslim, but most Jews are Jews. Their religion is fucked. Like that Old Testament is horrifying. I mean, you could say the Jewish God is the devil and you couldn't tell the difference.
Now, why was the Vatican helping Hitler so much and the Nazis? Didn't they hide him out? Didn't they help him escape to South America and all that?
No, he's dead, and they had a piece of his jawbone in his teeth and stuff. They killed him, he killed himself. He was burned. But I love that story that he escaped to Argentina. That's so good.
You don't think you don't think there's a chance that that's real? Like, sounds like, not that crazy.
No, they have a piece of his skull and his jawbone. Like you can't survive.
But who knows what that is? I mean, some people say, someone telling you that
you can always be like, well, his dentist lied and this lied, and they're so embarrassed they couldn't
or maybe they didn't find any bone, and then they say, yeah, we found his bone, we found it. How do you really know?
Hitler had seen Mussolini hung up naked by his thumbs and paraded around the streets, and he did not want that happening to him, and that would have happened to him. So he was like, kill me and burn my body. He did not want to be his corpse paraded around nude, imagine the humiliation of it all and destroying the legacy. He knew, honestly, Germany would not be preserved whatsoever if they continued the war. And the war was going to go until he was dead.
But why was the Vatican so pro-Hitler?
Well, that wasn't uncommon. I mean, the Vatican is not good. I said today they're against the wars in the Middle East, but historically, they've always been nasty. And, Hitler was very anti-Jew and anti-gay and anti-atheist, and the Vatican hates all those groups as well. And so, and they also saw it as he's very powerful and we want to be on the winning team. And, it was a relationship he had to foster. It wasn't automatic, but Italy was in the Axis powers, and they've always had a close relationship with the Italians, and fascism and kind of this militant Christian theology that, like I said, ever since Rome, it's all been about killing your neighbors and taking their stuff. You fit right in with Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler, you have to understand, they didn't have the internet or any of that back then. So the story they got was super one-sided. And he did have legitimate grievances to point to with the Treaty of Versailles, annexation of German lands. They took the Rhinelands, the corridor to Danzig, and Poland had taken territory, France had taken territory. And he blamed this on what he called international finance capitalism. He really didn't even rant that much about Jews in Mein Kampf. That becomes like a post hoc rationale that sounded better for the war, because you can't say the war is about liberating Poland from occupation when after the war, Poland is still under occupation just by the Soviet Union instead of Germany. So they change it into, oh, the rationale is the Holocaust and we were saving the Jews. No, it wasn't. It's not why they were fighting. You didn't even know there was a Holocaust until it was over. So you couldn't have been, that cannot have been the reason. It was about the annexation of Poland, and the Allied powers everybody allied with Stalin. He had a defense pact with Japan, Germany, everybody, and he turned on everybody. He took islands from Japan at the end of the war. You could say, well, Hitler attacked Russia. He did, and people say, well, that was stupid. Why would you fight on two fronts? Russia was going, they had intercepted their plans. Stalin was going to hit them anyway, so he hit them first. He did not want to be fighting in two fronts. He absolutely do better. He even wrote about it in Mein Kampf before the war started, that he really wanted to win over the Brits and he couldn't. But he's like, you're going to either need the Brits or the Russians. You can't fight them both. And he knew it. And he still ended up in that situation. And Churchill, like, World War II could have been prevented if not for Winston Churchill, but he was adamant about it. And like Daryl Cooper was right about that. He was on with Joe Rogan, your buddy, and he was just telling history like I am now. And man, they were like, oh, so you love Hitler and you wanted it to happen. Like, he never said anything like that. But people have this like crass G.I. Joe, good versus bad, childish, like, narrative in their head where they're super bad, we're completely good, and everything. That's not how the world works. You know, Britain and France and Portugal and Spain, like, and they had colonies. They did what Germany was trying to do. Why does West Africa speak French? Because they like it? No, because they got colonized. Look at India was part of Britain. A lot of the Middle East was either British or French. They had gone around taking territory by force. Like, these were not benevolent entities by any means that the Germans were fighting. Like, you really can't point your finger and say and have any sort of moral high ground and be like, well, we would never do that. Like, you killed civilians, you tortured people, you stole, you raped, you did all that. And so did the Germans, and so did the Soviets, and so did the Japanese, and so did the Chinese. Like, they all did it. That's government. It's not good versus evil. It's like evil versus more evil, or, it's state versus state, with the poor being puppeteered into killing each other, and they don't benefit from it at all. Like, you, the little peasant from Essex or whatever, do not benefit from the British Empire. Like, you're just a little tax farm who gets called up to duty to go lose your life in wherever, in South Africa or India or whatever. Like, they don't care about you. And that's how the world, you ought to look at it like that, not my team, my nationality versus this other one. It's like, no, it's poor versus poor, and the rich benefit. Like, you're being used. The real class war, the only thing Marx got right is there is a class war. They don't care about. George Carlin put it better. It's a big club and you ain't in it, and they don't care about you at all, right? That's how it is. And Hitler was on that side. So was Stalin. So was Churchill. So was de Gaulle. All of them are like that.
Okay. So back to, we digressed a little.
Including the Vatican. Like, they're in the position of power. Yeah. Okay.
The Charlie Kirk, you I'm sure you saw the interview that he, before, like the months before he died, with Megyn Kelly, and they were both like super pissed that they were getting called anti-Semitic when they were like, we've been pro-Israel so long. And all of a sudden I questioned one thing about, the genocide or one thing about October 7th or whatever they questioned. And then everyone's turning on them. And they were both really pissed that they've been pro-Israel so long. And they have a couple questions.
Like, I did what I was told. Why are they breathing down my neck?
Yeah. Exactly. And then, there's all these theories of who killed them. You think there's any validity to like maybe Israeli intelligence?
I think that's a very reasonable speculation and definitely worth a path worth investigating. The thing is, I know from kind of being a professional at exposing Israeli crimes that the Israelis would never like put a Mossad agent on the roof. If they wanted to kill Charlie Kirk, they would farm that out to an expendable. So like a faggot on the roof, as Andrew Tate said, there's a faggot on the roof, like correct. But is that faggot on the roof independent? Well, if I was the Israelis and I wanted to get some, loser queer to shoot Charlie Kirk, I'd farm that out through Antifa because everyone hates them and there's a large like track record of them hating Charlie Kirk, celebrating his death. It's going to look terrible, right? And that will distance you enough to have plausible deniability. Like, oh, it wasn't us, it was them.
For all your 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu merchandise, please visit 10thplanetjj.com/shop. We also got a Look Into It t-shirt that just dropped. Thank you very much for your support.
They do hate him. So I'd farm it out that way. But through looking at it, it's just like, really, these guys in their 20s don't have social media, just like Thomas Crooks, who shot Trump in the ear. They don't. Yeah, they did, because
it's an obvious
on September
cover-up,
10th,
right?
I was able to find it. I found Lance Twiggs. I went through their subreddits, gaming chats, Discord chats, stuff like that. It's all gone now, but we grabbed it early, and if Tyler's a patsy or Tyler is working on behalf of an organization, I think Tyler shot him. Actually, he's fucking on film on the roof with a rifle. He did it, but he didn't act alone, because there were a lot of people who knew Kirk was going to die, because before he was shot, they were posting shit like, something big's about to happen to Charlie Kirk tomorrow at my school, like stuff like really on the nose like that.
Was it fake? Because I saw something that they posted like either a book or a documentary about it like the day before.
No, the Amazon book thing is a fraud. You can backdate your books. Yeah, that's bullshit. Like, they just have AI write a book. And they're like, oh, there is a weird coincidence though. There's this movie with Nicolas Cage where a guy named, what is that?
Snake Eyes, right?
Yeah, Snake Eyes, where he's my favorite over actor, by the way. Nicolas Cage, he's great. And Nicolas Cage does a bunch of conspiracy movies too. I mean, that's kind of his niche for a while.
Yeah.
But in Snake Eyes, there was a guy named Charles Kirkland, which is just like Charles Kirk, who shot in the neck at a boxing event. But he lives. But yeah, he's shot in the neck. And it was in September, and that's kind of like predictive programming, coincidence. There it is, Snake Eyes. Yeah, and the boxer's name was Tyler, by the way, the guy who threw the fight. So that's another coincidence. And there was Hurricane Jezebel, and you saw Megyn Kelly. He's like, oh, I found witches on Etsy named Jezebel. That's a super common like Wicca lesbian name, like Jezebel. It's a condemned whore.
What about all those videos? Like, I've seen videos. I'm not an expert on the Charlie Kirk investigation. I just kind of wait until it all comes out.
Like, you want to go through debunking stuff, like blowing up microphones and all that shit?
Yes, some of that stuff. But I saw a film. There were, people were saying, look, he didn't even have a rifle on him. He had like a hoodie on him. Where's the rifle? And then he assembled
had it wrapped
it.
in a towel. You can definitely see it.
Okay.
But they're looking for a rifle, but it had a black towel, so it drips, and it looks like he's picking up a sweatshirt or something. Like, no, that's the rifle, But
Was
the
he a
talent,
known marksman? Was he like a sniper in the Marines or something?
no, he had hunted, but from that distance with a 30-06, like anyone can hit that. It's not.
And his security probably wasn't that great. You think like he's just at a college.
He had Schaefer security. He's like, Israeli security is the best. I'm like, well, you just saw Trump like 2 attempts on his life where a guy on the roof nearly blew his head off. You're telling me you can't put a drone up in the air to scan the roof for faggots? Like, that's not even $300. They didn't do it. So, but that can be incompetence. I mean, like, they just not like, oh, they let someone shoot them, because they're all out of jobs now. Like, Kirk's gone, so they're done. But they didn't find him. His security wasn't very good. He only had like 6 personnel. He had a bunch of like media and other employees, but as far as security, there wasn't much. There were no metal detectors or anything. And I was like, this is crazy. You're at a college campus. It's one of the most dangerous places you can be, because that's the most intolerant place in the world. You have got very divisive, politically charged opinions, which I don't think ought to be divisive. Like, it's really simple stuff. Like, men have a penis, women have a vagina. Like, some a 2-year-old know or a 4-year-old would know. But in college, they're so fucked in the head. Like, they argue incessantly about identity politics. Like, these are 1-minute arguments. Like, DEI is racist. If you're favoring a group because of, sex or color, whatever, that's prejudice. You have to have hiring based on merit. If there's anything else, then that's not fair. But they're like, no, you hate blacks, you hate Latino. I'm like, what the hell? DEI, being against affirmative action or DEI does not make you racist. It just makes you like correct. But Kirk would go in and argue about what I call no shit Sherlock issues with retards. And it was just idiot ping pong, because the major issues with Federal Reserve, the $35 trillion debt, the wars in the Middle East, they never talked about it. They would just argue about what's a woman. But anyway, he went there and he didn't have metal detectors. He didn't have a drone. He's got guys standing next to him. So what? He had a tent, so at least it'd be harder to hit him from behind because it blocks the view a little bit. But if you're going to be outside with no drone and there's rooftops all over the place, you're in a kill zone. Like, if they want to kill you, there's really nothing his security could have done. Like, you got to preempt that. Once a dude's on the right, already on the roof with a gun, you can't, you got to get him first. Like, there's no way you can protect somebody in that scenario. So they really dropped the ball, and I do blame them. So I'm like, you are his security detail. You know how the people are after him, threaten him all the time, and you didn't check the rooftops. Like, that's the first place you'd look. You can't shoot from the crowd, because if you do it from the front row, you're immediately going to be seen, tackled. You can't do it from behind because there's too many people in the way. You have to have an elevated position. And what's the most obvious elevated position is a roof.
I'm sure you saw the video where like dudes doing hand signals and touching their hats, and there's a guy in the back, and it looks like he clipped something.
Well, they do that. If you look at his other events, they're doing the baseball shit too, because that's his security detail. It's the same guys he has at his other college tours, and they do the same shit.
Yeah, it's just
talking to each
standard
other.
Standard shit.
Yeah, standard stuff. Same thing with the guy that took his camera. He was part of his media crew, and he took down the camera and gave it to the FBI. There's no story there. As far as like, oh, maybe he was shot behind the right ear, the hairline. No, what you're seeing is his cross necklace fly off his head, because his chest went like that. And the reason his chest does that, and hunters will know this, if you're shot, if people assume a bullet's like going to hit him in the chest and fly out his back, or hit him in the neck and fly out the back of his neck. But the bullet isn't coming like this. It's coming from up there. And Charlie had just said he was like, with or without gang violence, and he was leaning like this to put the mic down. So he isn't sitting like this. He's sitting like this. And then you got a shooter shooting like this. So the bullet went down his body vertically. And at 6'5", it is possible, even with 30-06, and we don't know what grain it was, and we don't know if it was fraggable or whether it was lead, steel, because there's no autopsy yet. but about 15 or 16 inches of ballistic gel will stop at 30-06. So you add bone and muscle to that, and it's not going to come pop out his butthole. Like that bullet somewhere in his abdomen area. Oh, look at that. Yeah. So he's leaning down, and look, his chair, his knees are level with the table. You can't see his lower body, but you can in the very beginning.
There's another angle where there's a guy way in the back with the white shirt, and it looked like that guy right there in the white in the background. Not the hat.
There's the camera flash, or they say a gun flash. Yeah. That see how high his knees are? They put him on a super high chair. It's level with the table. Charlie was kind of tall. He's 6'5". He's big, kind of big. It's kind of big. They got their camera out. That's normal.
Does it seem
guy's part of security doing his hand signal shit? Yeah. I swear to God, I don't think a lot of that's just nonsense. They're just acting like I'm doing stuff. Give me a paycheck. I don't think, and you don't need it. And people are like, oh, these are spotters. I'm like, what does he need a spotter for? Once you see him, shoot him. You don't need a signal to say shoot him. You just shoot him. There's totally unnecessary.
Now, do you feel like there's like a cover up of some sort? Because all the stuff that they release to
for sure. You're dealing with TPUSA is a bunch of con artists, right? Their whole thing is to sucker young Republicans and giving them money and act like, look, we're taking on the left, and they're getting millions and millions of dollars. And so one guy who really just handed conspiracy theorists like a plate, just like here, was this dude named Andrew Kovac. Andrew Kovac he's this Christian holy roller. He's was friends with Charlie Kirk. He's in TPUSA. And for some fucking reason, he decided to make up this story and say, I talked to the surgeon. It's a miracle. They found the bullet just under his skin. Charlie had Wolverine bones. He had bones of steel. Charlie protected the person behind him from being shot, like his body. Christ, save Jesus. Here's a donation button, whatever. Let me tell you what's wrong with that story. First of all, you're not built different. He does not have bones of steel. He may have had a little bit denser bone. He's kind of athletic. Don't matter. That's not going to stop the bullet. Surgeons don't do autopsies. Pathologists do. So you don't even know which type of doctor to lie about. So no surgeon could have told you that they found the bullet like this because they don't do autopsies. You're full of shit. You just want to create a miracle because these people believe in miracles. They're like, oh, the Lord stopped the bullet or whatever with Charlie's bones. No, it didn't. What stopped the bullet was that it hit in a way that went down his body, like from the collarbone down into his gut area. He was dead instantly. The reason his chest puffs up like that enough to violently throw his cross necklace off, which is disgusting, is like Jesus literally abandoned him at his moment of death. But is when a bullet goes through, and you can see this in ballistic gel tests and stuff too, where it'll expand because all that fluid and stuff is rapidly being pushed and dragged and it's got to go somewhere. So you have a cavity temporarily where it'll go and then back. And it goes back because all the blood starts spraying out the hole. You don't have an exit wound. You only have an entry wound. So the bullet has to be in his body. But they had not done an autopsy yet. They act like, I'm like, surgeon, there's no surgeon. That Charlie Kirk was dead in seconds. They took his body in a normal car. There was no ambulance.
What I think is probably the best knee slice in the game. It's called a row drag. Super simple, awesome combo. Before we get to the truck, throw a little pass on top of that. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get really good at that truck transition. How about you get really ninja with the row drag? The knee slice. Push him down, butterfly, boom, bam, boom. Here. 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 And then the fishnet, knee to the stomach, low the handle, break the frames, and then boom. Pull this out, grab my forearm, pop, pop. That's All the best shit from Twister Side Control right there in one throw. You guys want to go back and forth a little bit? Ready? Go.
And this is another fault of his security detail. If you're doing security detail for a celebrity, and he's just like a celebrity, then what's your evac plan? Where's your ambulance? If something goes awry, if he has a heart attack, if he gets shot, if there's an accident of some sort, which hospital are you going to? What's your escape route? What's your medical vehicle? Where are your paramedics on scene? You ought to have a detachment for your security detail that is paramedic that should have been there. He's just got plain clothes, like guys jumping over the table, not knowing what the fuck to do. They throw him in like an SUV. They wait because another guy comes. It was so bad. It wouldn't have mattered. Like everyone's like, oh, it hasn't been announced yet. Myself and Dan Bilzerian were the first people to say he's dead because I believe my own eyes. You cannot, when you have a volcano of blood shooting out your neck like that, you're gone. There's no way.
The first time I saw it, the very first time, I thought, okay, to me, it looked like he was on a green screen. It looked fake to me. I mean, I believe he's dead now, but the first time I saw it, it looked fake to me.
Yeah, you don't want to believe it. So see that black thing above the F?
Yeah.
That's like a little lapel mic that they had. And people will say, oh, look, that's they think it's a piece of a bullet or whatever. Like that was on before he got shot. So, right. Oh man, it's hard to watch. Boom. So that, yeah, that's going downward. And it did, because if he was shot like horizontally, 100% that would fly out the back of his neck. Like nobody's neck is that strong. It has to be going down, or it would have come out the other side.
Can you just play it straight and just like play the whole thing and not pause it? Is that the end? I want to see like when he.
Oh, yeah! Look at that amount of blood. But you see how much his shirt flies upwards of just for a split second. I mean, we're watching it even in slow motion, but you can see the shirt go like that, right?
You got him like right in the carotid artery,
like right there. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's
the only solace is he didn't know he was dead. Like he's dead right there. His hands go up. He actually never let go of his mic. So he did this Shinzo Abe. I've been shot, but I'm not going to drop the microphone. Oh God, in front of his kids too, man. Like he had 2 daughters, I think.
Now, so what do you think at this point? You think it was just you said you don't think it was a lone gunman. All this cover up.
Well, I don't think he did that alone. Like, only one person could pull the trigger, but he was part of a network 100% because they're all like, they didn't have enough self-control to be quiet. There was no radio silence. They even made a song called Charlie Kirk Dead at 31. And there's a person in that Spotify video that looks just like Lance Twiggs, which is the boyfriend of Tyler Robinson. Tyler had 2 boyfriends. He was dating a transgender video game addict named Lance Twiggs, and he was dating somebody. Their online handle is like Red Ruckus or something like that, who was into like underage furry porn. These are really dysgenic, fucked up people, and you look at their social media and it was just a hate fest to Charlie Kirk, and the fact that got scrubbed, like of course they're going to start deleting their accounts themselves, but how the fuck could the FBI not grab that right away if citizens can get it, but our FBI is pretty incompetent. I don't think they understand computer. Like honestly, I don't think Cash Patel and them know what they're doing.
Do you think I always thought Cash Patel was like one of the most legit government officials out there. I always did.
He's a million times better than Christopher Wray. But what you got to understand is he's walking in, and RFK Jr., same thing. you need to fire all the top brass because they're all against you. They'll come up and kiss your ass. But Christopher Wray created BLM and Antifa. Like, that is not an organic, that is AstroTurf. That's not grassroots. It's completely, they've got money from Soros and NGOs and USAID and the rest of it. And the FBI allowed that cancer to metastasize. And Christopher Wray is deeply financially tied to Hunter Biden and Devin Archer and Chris Hines, that whole syndicate they made, and with Rosneft and BHR in China and blah, blah, blah. The FBI is full of profiteers, and now they're getting indicted. Like Comey's indicted. They're looking at Christopher Wray. So Patel is walking into an organization that was completely fucked from top to bottom. And so he really needed to do some house cleaning, and he didn't.
So you think Kash Patel is trying to do the right thing?
I think he had good intentions.
Really hard.
I think he had good intentions, but he's not competent enough to do it. Like, he's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Pam Bondi, all of them, like, we're going to release the Epstein files. I said, no, you're not. It's not going to happen. You're going to get there. You're going to get the whip the dog session, and then you're going to come back and go, well, we're going to really, They're never going to release JFK. They're never going to release Epstein. The stuff they released on JFK was all crap you and I had been over. Like, it's all redundant files that have been released here and there anyway.
What didn't they release in regards to JFK? What did they hold back? Because you're like one of the...
A ton of things on James Angleton and Ted Shackley. Everything that links to Israel, that's what they hide. We knew that. Same thing with Epstein.
So JFK was legit, and if he wasn't legit, they wouldn't have assassinated him, correct? Like,
oh yeah, JFK was going after Israel for the nuclear program, so he was definitely going to get killed. And RFK was going to investigate his brother's death, so they killed him.
Okay. What do you think about what Candace?
But there's a great example, because like when John Alessio's goons, they hire a security, and Thane Caesar shoots Robert Kennedy. Thane Caesar is not anybody, right? No one knows who the fuck that is. He's just an expendable moron. And if he had been caught, same thing with Sirhan. He was $28,000 in debt. He worked at the Corona Horse Ranch for these guys, and so. Yeah, they just put a Palestinian guy there with the newspaper in his bed. It was so on the nose. It was so stupid. But they never put their own on. They always find some expendable nobody to actually pull the trigger.
Patsy.
Like, well, he's not a patsy because they're actually doing it. A patsy's like someone who didn't do it and you blame it on somebody else who wasn't involved. These people are more like fall guys. Like, you're going to pull the trigger. And if you get caught, we never knew you, that kind of thing.
But isn't it better to give the guy a gun, let him pull the trigger, but have a professional actually do it because they're not going to rely on some
for backup. If he fucks up and misses or something, you gotta have a backup plan.
Yeah. So with Lee Harvey Oswald, do you think
they killed Sirac in Chicago? That's what happened. The fucking idiot, he shot him, but not in a vital area, and then a different mob guy had to take a kill shot. And they fucked up because they used different caliber guns. So it's like, hey, this got to be two guns because you had two different calibers.
Is it CGI? Is it CGI?
RFK too, because Sirhan missed all his fucking shots. He hit bystanders, but he never hit RFK. All three shots are from inches away. From behind. Thomas Noguchi was the corridor, and like they know he had burn marks on his head. Like, it was definitely things witness shooting his gun. We can do a whole show on that someday, but like, that's the thing. You had everything got blamed on Sirhan, even though he'd been tackled on the ground after the second shot. You got too many bullets. There's 13 shots in an 8-shot revolver. Oops. They did have the same caliber. They learned that mistake, but you fired too many bullets. And they changed witnesses' testimony to say, how many shots did you hear? I heard 12 to 13, and they just wrote 8. Like, that's not what I said. Yeah, it is. But that's LAPD, man. Like, they had them. That was all mobbed up back then. That was Nixon cronies, and then he becomes president, and you're never
Operation 40 was involved in that one, right? Like, what's one of the Dan Morales? What was his name?
Dave Morales.
Dave Morales.
Dave Morales was a witness on both assassinations. He knew he did not have a prominent role in the RFK shooting. That was Frank Diaz and John Alessio and
Operation 40. That was a bunch of assassins trained to kill Castro, but then they used him for other jobs, right? Including
the anti-Castro Cubans were, but that's not who killed RFK. Like Thane Caesar 100% shot RFK. And he was just a thug from Tijuana. Well, he wasn't from Tijuana, but he had gotten in trouble there. And they went and expunged his record, got him out of jail. So he owes them big, and like, look, you're going to be here. He had been hired for all of a day, but the conglomerate that ran Ace Security was this thing called Westgate, which was set up by a Jewish millionaire and did all manner of money laundering for the Italian mob syndicates in that area. It's because you had pieces of California were being kind of fought over between the Chicago outfit and New York at the 5 Points. So like LA and Vegas were different properties that got divided up, and the East Coast had the West Coast, but the Chicago got Vegas. So,
okay, back to Charlie Kirk real quick. What do you think about what Candace Owens is saying about the whole thing? You think I'm
glad she's questioning it, but she's not filtering the bullshit very well. And what's happened is like Candace Owens is a big name that got red pilled about Israel, maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So she leaves Daily Wire, and like a lot of red pill noobs, they go through this period where they just question everything and like to deny everything. And you should not automatically accept or automatically reject. You should get the specifics and make a decision based on actual evidence every single time. You can't not just have a formula. Well, that ain't true because no, you got to look at it. And it's what I call a shit sandwich. And she's been fed some shit sandwiches because they need to cripple her credibility. And one of the big mistakes she made is saying Macron's wife is a man. She's going to come out with XX chromosomes and sue Candace, and Candace is going to lose a lot of money. She had kids with another guy. Like, she's definitely a woman. Got like whatever. And they were like, and then she starts in on the Israeli conspiracy because she got some bad information that, all right, I'll explain it. They'll say, well, didn't Charlie Kirk reject $150 million from Netanyahu and a trip to Israel and blah, blah, blah? No, he didn't. Like, yeah, but Max Blumenthal said that in the Gray Zone. No, he didn't. If you read the Gray Zone, what he said is not Netanyahu was going to give $150 million to TPUSA. That can't happen anyway. That's illegal. TPUSA is a nonprofit American organization, cannot accept money from the foreign head of state of a different government. So like if he was going to give him money, he'd have to use intermediaries through American Jews like Bill Ackman or Shillman or Adelson or whatever. Like that's what they normally do. You can't directly give him money. So if you're going to have a story saying, oh, Netanyahu offered him $150 million and he said no, he'd have to say no because he can't take money from him. And then if you say, oh, well, what they meant was the Israeli government is going to push money into Jewish billionaires and they're going to donate to TPSA. Okay, well, where's Charlie Kirk saying no to any of them? They said no to him. He never said no to them. So like Robert Shillman reduced his donation from 2 million to 1 million, still giving him $1 million. He's still supporting him. He's just not supporting him as much. But that was most of the donations. But I have a better explanation for why that happened. When they were giving more than $1 million was last year. And what was happening last year? Trump's election. So at their peak is anytime there's a presidential election is when you're going to push the hardest. And after the election's over and your team has won, it is very common for donations to decrease. it was not because he was fighting with Kirk about ideology. It was just a normal across the board thing, even from non-Jews. Like donations kind of slowed down when you're not doing when you're not doing that college campus tour and fighting to get Trump elected and da 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 da. That's all that was.
Okay. So you're saying Candace is authentic. She's just being fair.
She's not lying. She's saying what she thinks is true. And she's gotten a lot of it right. But there's some things that when she started talking about communist bee enthusiasts and something like, oh man, whoever's whispering this in your ear, like get a better source, because they're trying to discredit you.
Yeah. Okay. And now what about like it turned like, there's only a couple politicians, government officials that are questioning AIPAC, right? And that's
Thomas
like,
Massey.
Thomas,
Yeah.
is he legit or is he like a trick?
He's legit. Yeah.
Okay. What about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
She's come around. Yeah.
She's authentic?
She's authentic, but she was getting snowed at first, and now she's come around.
When the threats started coming, I realized I needed to leave. And again, I had no plan. I had no job. I was very scared, and I came out in a time that I knew, regardless of what happened to me, I was going to be on the right side of history.
You can no longer call something a conspiracy theory when Harvard, Bill Gates, and a CIA director are all calling for these programs to start.
We have barium and strontium and aluminum and nanoparticles. I think some of these technically incompetent politicians don't understand what a nanoparticle is.
Don't you want to breathe clean air?
What I do see is massive evidence that we are exposed to an immense chemical soup of man-made poisons.
It's going into our water supply, it's going into our nose, it's going into our mouth, it's settling on our skin.
If you just take the time to look up, it becomes undeniable.
We the people have not consented to being test subjects.
Your own government's doing it.
They're spraying us like bugs, like cockroaches. That doesn't raise any flags? That doesn't make you think? Scratch your head? What's going on?
Poof! There's all the aluminum over this concentrated area.
You have everyone looking up at the sky. I mean, it's literally over our heads.
What about Matt Gaetz? He seems to be talking a lot lately.
He's mostly, he's pretty good. Like the other day he said, how is it patriotic to borrow money from China and give it to Israel? Like, wow. He also said Epstein was tied to a foreign government. Let's not say which one. He did the Kanye thing. I'm not going to say, okay. Like, which foreign government would it be?
You would think like Matt Gaetz would be all up in that. Like, I mean, he was like one of Trump's, soldiers. And what do you think? Okay.
Well, they set him up.
Let's get to the granddaddy. Is Trump?
Do you know who Joel Greenberg is?
No.
You ever heard of him?
No.
That's the story.
Black dude?
No, Jewish white guy. No.
Okay, go ahead.
Does Greenberg sound black?
That's why I was asking you.
No, it's not. He was I guess he's not
Mexican?
black. I've seen his picture. I mean, Greenberg's Jewish, but he had blue eyes. So whatever.
All right. So, okay, go on.
Everything they accuse Matt Gaetz of doing is stuff that Greenberg actually did. This will blow your mind. This ought to be like a movie. Joel Greenberg has 33 felonies. It was like, how after like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 felonies, you ought to be in jail. He committed so many crimes so quickly. He ended up racking up 33 felonies.
That's an interesting number. 33.
Is
he a Freemason?
Yeah. He was a tax collector. Like, who do we hate more than that, right? Already, he's a Jewish tax collector in Florida. But he was trying to do the Epstein thing, but he's too much of a fucking idiot. Because he would get girls and then he would pay him on Venmo. Oh, here's $600 for ice cream. Man, are you like trying to get caught? you can't put the reason for payment to be hundreds of dollars for ice cream. You know, and it's not for a store. It's just like he made up ridiculous crap because he's just like John Gotti. Like he wanted to be known. You know, okay. He wanted people to know he's a criminal, and that's a flaw. The really good mobsters are the ones we don't know. Like Michael Francine was under the radar until he like admitted it. He was making good money. He's doing great. He's converted. He's completely like seen the light. I believe him. You know, his father ended up living to be like 100 and something, and he never ratted on anybody. But Michael Francine was making good. He had this gas. I'm not going to explain how he did it because, you know, that would be wrong. But he had a nice scam going and made a lot of money for the syndicate. But it was not a well-known name. He was a big draw, kept quiet. That's how mobsters are supposed to be. You shouldn't be a mobster, but if you're going to master the craft, you stay out of the light. Joel Greenberg did petty stuff. Like he was farming Bitcoin and he had so many servers in the government building that it started a fire. He had he got these water sprinklers that he had a camera, like a hidden camera, and he bought these water sprinklers that you could remotely control so he could like spray people walking by just to be a dick. This is his maturity level.
Okay.
But one of the things he did is there was a guy, there are a lot of people in Florida. It's actually like their second home. They live wherever and then they go to Florida a few months out of the year. So there was one of these like condos where the owner wasn't there. And Joel Greenberg has a party at a different guy's house acting like, oh, this is mine. It wasn't. And inviting people there. And he invited Matt Gaetz there, but Matt Gaetz didn't go. And you have to go through the gate and say your name and show ID just to even get into the subdivision. Gaetz wasn't even there. And Greenberg had these like 17-year-olds, like right on the line that could get you in trouble because it's underage. He's the one that slept with them, not Matt Gaetz. But if you look up, and you guys can do this right now, if you look up Joel Greenberg arrested or something, almost every headline is Matt Gaetz' friend, Matt Gaetz' associate, Joel Greenberg. And it's like all this, like Matt Gaetz is not doing this. Gaetz confident sentenced to 11 years. Yeah. Now it's been a few years. So the top story says Greenberg. Oh no, look, December 1st, Matt Gaetz was sentenced Thursday. They're all talking about Matt Gaetz in every story.
And he's even
not
there.
Related to it. I mean, they knew each other, but so what? The whole thing was they tried to honey trap Matt Gaetz and failed. And when Greenberg gets popped himself for all kinds of shit, like he spent like $5 million on hiring his friends for no-show jobs. He did all kinds of stuff. And it's all Gaetz. It's either in the title or in the first sentence.
So they definitely went after Matt Gaetz.
They went after him. And what they did was so dirty because
who's they?
He's supposed to have Bondi's position.
Yes.
And he was in Congress. So what they did is Trump calls him to be in the cabinet. So he leaves Congress so that he can join the cabinet. And in that little month period where Gaetz is no longer in Congress, but is not yet the attorney general, is when they attacked him. And what they did was the ethics committee leaked only the accusations, but not the conclusion of an investigation into Matt Gaetz. So all over the media, it's kind of like what they did to the Tate brothers. You had the accusations. Matt Gaetz was like fooling around with women, blah, 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 blah. But if you follow, and this is from the Democrat-controlled ethics committee at the time, he was accused of that and he was exonerated of that. The conclusion was he didn't do it. But then they say, oh, this part has been leaked. oh, who leaked it? Nobody leaked it. You just put it out there. And, when you get accused of, underage sex, everyone hates that. Nobody likes pedophiles. That's a big accusation. And it went all over the media to the point where Trump can no longer put him in the cabinet because he's got so much heat. So he chooses Pam Bondi. But now he can't go back to Congress either because he already resigned. So they basically got Matt Gaetz out of Congress and then didn't get him in the cabinet. They waited until he was in that vulnerable position where right after he leaves Congress, but before he's joined the cabinet, to come out with these accusations. I'm like, well, that's odd. How come if you're leaking the accusations from these women, and I did this whole documentary on this showing like where they admitted they lied, why aren't the conclusions of that investigation also explained? And that's what Matt Gaetz would be like, yeah, that was what I was accused of. And I was exonerated. Like these women even admitted it. And in fact, Greenberg is the one who's really guilty of everything he accused Gaetz of doing. And and it was still, they just made that about Gaetz too, because he's a political target. And that's how you know he's legit, because the more the matrix, the system, whatever goes after you, the more legit you are.
So we got a handful of legit government officials or former government officials: Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey,
Rand Paul.
Who?
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul's legit, right?
Yeah,
Rand Paul's legit.
His father's super legit.
I mean,
Ron Paul
seems like the most.
Ron Paul's the best.
Yes. Okay.
He is. He's the best. I will evangel for Ron Paul. His son's good. His son is not a crook. He's of all of them, Thomas Massey's the best because Ron Paul's 90 years old, so he's limited now. But Ron Paul was the trailblazer, and he came a little too early. Matt Gaetz, when Matt Gaetz went on Tucker and said everyone has an AIPAC guy, I was like, this is so cathartic. This is what someone needed to say forever ago. They purchased Congress. And it's a self-licking ice cream cone, because we send billions of dollars in foreign aid to Israel, and then they take a few $100 million of that billion to bribe Congress to send more money to Israel, to bribe Congress to send more money to Israel. So for a small fraction, your return on investment is huge. They spend a few million, they get $1 billion, and they do that over and over again. And and also it's not just AIPAC. AIPAC, the brand is so dirty now that they're using a different lobby called UDP. So when you're looking at congressmen and saying how much money they take from AIPAC, or how much they get from UDP, because you might find, oh, it's only this. And then you look at the other one and they go, oh, that's triple that. That's what they're doing.
They rebranded. Smart.
They did. Well, it is. They're clever.
Because you know what? Nobody knew what AIPAC was a year ago, 2 years ago. No, you did. You've been calling it out this whole time. But I'm talking about the general public did not know what AIPAC was. The general public did not know what Palantir was. The general public did not know who Peter Thiel was. The general public, they didn't. Now it's like everybody knows.
Do you know what's in the center of that Epstein map I released 7 years ago? Peter Thiel. He's right in the middle.
You think? Is there a chance that Trump is exposing them by partnering up with them, or do you feel like Trump is evil?
I'll give that the best case for that,
because before you say that,
when they said we're going to release the file, they could have done just like Joe Biden and not even talked about it. Like for 4 years with Joe Biden, did anybody pressure Biden to release the Epstein file? No, it wasn't even a conversation.
Yeah,
Trump comes in. And look, he appointed Bondi, Bonagino, Patel, knowing that these people, in their podcasts and stuff, or with Dan, for example, had said they want to release the Epstein list. And he still chooses these people. Yeah. So at least it's in the conversation. And like his first week in office, before he had the whip the dog session, he's like, I'm going to sign executive orders on Kennedy, on Martin Luther King, on Robert Kennedy, on Epstein, not on 9/11. The public added that, but that was never in conversation. That's never going to happen. He's like, yeah, I'm going to release all these files. So why would you even put it out there to be in conversation and make a promise that now you're going to be pressured to keep when you could have just not talked about it at all.
Yeah.
I think what happened was he's like, yeah, let's release those files. And then they look at the Kennedy files and they look at the Epstein files, and it's just Israel. And they're like, oh shit, we can't do this. They didn't know it was in them.
Yeah.
As soon as he read it, he's like, oh, we can't release this.
You know what's crazy too is being an anti-vaxxer these days is so hot. I mean, it's like 5 years ago, if you were considered an anti-vaxxer,
COVID did that.
You could get like canceled, just by being an anti-vaxxer. But now,
oh, you're just like anti-science. And
yeah. But now the vaccine industry, not just the COVID vaccine, but the childhood scheduled vaccines, all that shit is going down. All of it. And Trump was anti-vax.
Why do you give Pepsi to kids?
Trump was anti-vax. He was before he became president, like in 2011, 2012, 2000.
Yeah.
He would tweet some shit about autism and vaccines. So he's aware, and his son Donald Trump Jr. What was that?
Tylenol on pregnancy causes autism. And did you see that story?
Yeah, I think I don't know whether he did it or not, whether he did it on purpose or not, whether it was like some 5D chess or not, him pushing the Operation Warp Speed and him bragging about being the father of the vaccine killed the vaccine industry.
It got everybody against it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether he did it on purpose or not, I think he did it on purpose because he was always anti-vax, and all of a sudden you're Operation Warp Speed, and you're the bragging about being the father of the vaccine. And then what's happening now? Perfect way out. He's saying, oh, were you guys lying to me? Was Pfizer lying to me? Was the CDC lying to me? Oh my God, let's look into it. I'm like, perfect. So
I would say, just like you said, whether it was intentional or not, just take your W's where you get them. A win's a win.
Yeah. Totally.
Doesn't matter why.
And then look at the electric car industry and climate change.
We're not mandating electric cars.
Yeah, and look at climate change. Like it seemed like it was confusing why Elon Musk all of a sudden is partnering up with Trump, and then Trump brings him in, but and then Elon gets fucking mad and starts talking mad shit because Trump is changing like the mandates on electrical vehicles. Like,
I don't think it was that. I think it was the big, beautiful bill. Like Elon for a long time has said, we have to do something about the deficit. Like it's $35 trillion. It's going to become totally insolvent and unpayable. Yeah. And adding another trillion, like he was very serious about Doge, and but they only got like in the billions. It was very little. Yeah. Said if you really, and I love what they got in USA, like a lot of leftist groups disappeared when their money disappeared. Yeah. But if you really want to save money, you have to go after the DOD. And that just wasn't going to happen. And so Doge was gone within months. It's going to be, we're going to cut government waste. And they did it.
So that's gone. Doge doesn't exist anymore.
Dead. Yeah, that was it.
What? It's over? I thought it was going to keep on going even without Elon. They were just going to get another leader.
Without Elon, they can't do anything.
Really? Well, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So
we could revive. I mean, the relationships after Kirk's death, Elon and Trump kind of like buried the hatchet a little bit.
Okay. So there's a lot of people out there, and I don't know what to think, man. I don't know who to believe these days. I don't know. I do know a few things 1,000,000%. I do know that like Biden and Kamala and Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, not good people. I know that 1,000,000%. Now Trump, it's like, some people believe in him.
I think he's afraid. They almost blew his head off. And so, he's bending the knee. He doesn't want to get assassinated.
But maybe that's it. But my point is, if he is actually, if this is all theater, and everything's like theater, and he's an actor, and he's a trick, and it was just a trick to bring in the surveillance system or whatever. Why did they do Russian collusion on him? Why did they accuse him of rape? What, I mean, was that all
Why did they
fake?
shoot at
Was
him?
that all
Like-
fake? If you would think like if he was like a Zionist shill, he would be saying like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you guys coming after me? You're accusing me of the three worst things: being a Russian agent, being a rapist, and being a racist. People fucking hate him. Like you would think that.
They still lie about Charlottesville.
Yes,
Acting like he was praising Nazis. He wasn't. He was talking about the Robert E. Lee issue. Some people want to preserve the statue, some don't. That's all he was talking about. And they acted like he was praising Nazis. Like, that's not true. Even Obama was lying about that. And Obama's not dumb. Like, he definitely knows better and just says it anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, so it doesn't make any sense that this is all theater and he's just acting and he's really a bad guy. And look, it is scary. The scary part is he's going to the wall, he's kissing the wall. You see him with a yarmulke.
He's always been bad. He was always bad on Iran. He was always kissing Israel's ass. The people supported Trump for domestic issues, like get men out of women's sports. That's something he did.
Yeah.
Get rid of paper straws. That's something.
The border.
Yeah. Yeah. Men should not play women's sports. And that is a bill that he got done. And he gave federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe. He's one of the first presidents to do anything for Native Americans in my life,
But his involvement with Palantir and what do you think about J.D. Vance? Was he a trick?
Well, yeah, he's different. Mascara Man is not Trump. He is.
So Trump got
Marco
tricked.
Rubio is a total yes man. But even Vance, look at Kamala's VP that brought in Somalia to Minnesota. He's just trash.
So did Trump
Vance is young
so you think
and
Trump
palpable.
thinks he made a mistake by bringing in Vance? Because Vance is such a great talker.
He's a good pick. If you wanted to win the election, that was the guy they get. Yeah. But I'm just saying, policy wise, he's no Thomas Massey, put it that way. And
is the biggest threat this digital ID thing that they're trying to push? And
Keir Starmer just did. You see that in the UK?
Yeah, that went viral. That video.
You ever seen Minority Report with Tom Cruise?
Yes,
that's what we're headed toward.
Yeah. Do you think Trump wants that?
I think he's what is he, 78? It's not going to matter to him.
But his kids though. Doesn't he love his kids?
He's a narcissist, dude.
Really? He doesn't care about his kids?
His kids won't be affected by it. They're in the group.
Do you think it's so viral, this digital ID thing, and they're not going to let you work unless you have a digital ID. They're not going to let you have access to your bank account.
Think of this, someone like myself.
It's
I'm
too
not.
much.
I got accused of all the same crap, like racism. Well, not rape, but all and I'm canceled from PayPal, canceled from Patreon, canceled from YouTube, canceled from Meta. I even Daily Motion Live, 30 different things I'm not allowed to use. I even got kicked off AOL, MySpace, Discord.
And to this day, you can't get back on any of that stuff.
Can't get back on anything.
And
that's the thing. Why don't you just make another account and change your name? They watch me, man. They know. I cannot use that stuff. I have Substack, and after Elon Musk, I now have a Twitter. But I didn't have a Twitter from 2009 to 2023.
That's interesting that you're allowed on X. Why do you think that is? So that must mean Elon must be.
I think Elon is committed to free speech.
Is he a good guy?
But not Elon? Reach. But he was like, we'll let him on, but we'll just turn down the dial. So I'm like, if I even have 1%, that's infinitely more than zero, So I'll take it. But, there's a lot of other people who got banned who are, at least they have an X account, Yeah. So some of the pariahs, Elon's I think part of it too is good for business because you can't just have all leftists like Jack Dorsey. Letting people on the right or libertarians and stuff back on creates political conflict. And that's what people do on Twitter. It's a big shit fest. So maybe it's good for that, but I don't know. Elon, he's a weird dude. He's got 14 baby mamas. He wants to colonize Mars. He's got some way out there opinions on certain things. But two things he's good on is he wants to curb the national debt, and he believes in at least the modicum of free speech, at least enough to like let me on. So, I think he's a net positive.
Okay.
And Doge was a great idea. I mean, I wish we had more of that.
Of
but
what?
When it comes to like Israel, Elon sucks. He's like pushing Tommy Robinson and stuff like, oh, you're so dumb, dude. You're getting snowed. There's certain opinions. It doesn't mean he's bad. It just means he's wrong. There's a big difference between being wrong and like knowing you're wrong and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the latest with Julian Assange? Is he out of prison?
He's free. He's last I heard, he's back in Australia. I mean, he needed to see his wife. Like he hadn't seen his wife in all those 17 years. 12
so he's
years.
kind of staying. He's kind of laying low a little bit.
Yeah, and then think about it. If you were him, and you still wanted to put information out, you'd use a cutout because it's not worth ruining your life again. Yeah, he did enough. He put his time in. Let him live with his family and do what he wants to do. He doesn't need to be an activist anymore. But WikiLeaks is still going and still getting good information. So
why didn't they just like poison him while he was like locked up? Like, why did they let him live?
I think because he'd already reached that like celebrity status, and making him a martyr would have made it worse.
You think so? You think they look at it like that?
Yeah, because they
could have just died of a heart attack in prison, and then
no one would believe it.
You don't think anybody would
if he died from anything, people would reject it. Even if he actually had a heart attack, like if he actually did, people would say they poisoned him. So,
but you would think they wouldn't care. Like it would be nice to send a message, let them think that. Just like when the mob, like a cartel, kills somebody, they get rid of someone, they could like make them disappear. But what do? Chop them up, put them in a suitcase, and drop it off in town square, and then to send a message. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like Julian's already handicapped where he can't like do leaks or anything anyway. He was in an embassy, and then he was in a prison.
Yeah.
But by having them there, you soaked up all this energy and activism of free Julian Assange and let him focus on that guy who has no power, who's already in prison, instead of just continuing to do leaks. That's what they wanted. But if he's dead, that ends, and then they double down on continuing his work. His work is what's the threat, not the man.
Interesting.
That's why if I was a criminal, that's how I would look at it.
There's just one clip of him. It's all I remember. It's the only thing, is he said,
you can tell they just woke up, right? Can you hear all that?
Are your kids?
It is a battle in the kitchen. Yeah.
The one thing Julian Assange said that sticks in my head is he said that Afghanistan, the real reason they keep Afghanistan, they destabilize Afghanistan, is that's where all the money laundering, all the money laundering goes through Afghanistan. And then like Romania, he said
Ukraine is big. Well, as far as the money laundering through narcotics, 100%, that's Afghanistan. The opioid crisis is kind of being replaced with fentanyl. But for a while there, this is really sad, we lost 100,000 people per year to opioids. That's like 2 Vietnams every year. But because it's like mostly the low rung of society, people just thought, well, they did it to himself, who cares? But it hit Europe even harder. A lot of the heroin, opium base, morphine, and all the derivatives from that stuff just flooded the streets because the Taliban had cut off opium production. And during the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan, it was a free-for-all. The moment they got back in power, it dropped 90%. But then a year later, the opium's back again because the Taliban realized we really just have one cash crop and they can't get aid from outside. And you kind of need that initial capital when you've been at war for more than 20 years, really like 30 years, because they had the war before that. So the opium is back, and man, 100,000 dead. Imagine if we had a war and we lost 100,000 people. We lost like 5,000 or 6,000 in Iraq. Imagine 100,000.
Yeah.
But when it's drugs, there's not a lot of outcry about it. And you probably know people that are hooked on fentanyl or heroin or something. I do. And
Why,
they're not all like homeless bums or whatever. I know a guy that he injured his fist punching his wall. Stupid, he punched his wall over some drama, whatever. But he like really busted his fucking knuckles. And he, where the way U.S. healthcare is, he knew a guy and he was getting like, I think just like oxycodone or something at first. And he was trying to get something just to heal his hand. And then he was going to stop it. He ended up with fentanyl once, which completely worked. His hand didn't hurt at all. But he was like, man, I had like one time doing that. Didn't even know it was in what he was using. And he had the worst withdrawals and like really like it took extreme willpower for him not to go back and look for fentanyl. And it was just like one time. So, and it's very easy to OD on that. And what's happening too is you're mixing this shit with benzos and I'm like, why are all these extremely complex pharmaceutical products on the street? Like they're not building that in a lab in their basement, like how this isn't like meth. How are you getting oxycodone and things like that? Like that has to come from drug companies. Like they're the only ones that can make this shit. There's not some street scientist building this in his room. This is flooded on the public intentionally. And I know that's like a big side topic, but like that's the part of the narco war is not just cocaine and pot and stuff. It's like pretty complex pill popper type of things that are made by big pharma, and they hook these people on it. And I would say the vast majority of people who are homeless because they're drug addicts. Like even if you give them money, they spend it all on drugs and they can't pay rent. Yeah. They can't pay mortgage. Like you can be on welfare and have a home, but they would rather be outside. They'd rather take that money and spend it on drugs. So if you want to help the homeless, like don't give them money, give them food. Fine. But don't give them money because that's going straight to drugs.
Okay. I know you got to leave because your kids are up. What needs to happen for the world to be saved? Is that even a possibility? Who do we need to elect? What needs to happen? Power. What realistic solution is there?
I think, well, if you want to change the world, it starts with the United States, because unfortunately, whoever has the most power has the most influence. So like if we would get on a good path, it would straighten out everything else. We meaning the United States. You need to preserve places that aren't, like Japan, Korea, like they're places that are functional. They don't have these problems. They're not involved in these wars. It's not like this everywhere. But the United States is what would have to change. Like if you didn't want a war in Ukraine and you don't want a war in Iran and you don't want genocide in Gaza, like you have to break the relationship between Israel and the United States. But to do that, you'd have to register AIPAC under FARA. You have to end aid to Israel. You have to deal with, well, how do you do that? First, you had to break a media monopoly. And I think Israel's PR is at all-time low. The whole world hates them, and over half of America hates them. They've lost the Democrats. They've lost the independents. They've lost the young Republicans. They just have like boomers and Christian Zionists. That's all that's left. And it's not going to be enough. What we need is a political sea change. In my mind, like the quickest route is Thomas Massey. Like if all you need is that one good guy, because he could appoint a cabinet of people who aren't psychotic. You need major house cleaning. Trump is way better than Harris, but he's still so over the barrel when it comes to the Israel question. Thomas Massey's not. I think the Republicans are going to get gutted in the midterms because they voted 51-49 on the Epstein file to not release it. And the Democrats can say, why in the world would you do that? But they're not sincere, because they could have released it when Biden was president and they had majority and they didn't even talk about it. They knew the Republicans would block it. They don't want to release it either, but they're like, if we attempt to do it, we'll make them block it and they'll be the bad guys. And we can act like, oh, we were trying to get it 100%. If the next one is a Democrat, they're not going to release them either. It'll never happen.
So
got to get Thomas Massey in office.
Thomas Massey
president.
As president, Marjorie Taylor Greene, vice president, Matt Gaetz, attorney
general. Yeah, I mean,
that'll do it.
If I was good, yeah, and put like Daniel Davis in Tulsi's position.
Tom Cotton, no good.
Tom Cotton sucks. He sucks. You can't get rid of, I mean, there people in the Senate and House are there because someone elected them, but Lindsey Graham, Cotton, these guys got to go. Like,
yeah.
And all these people over 80, like Mitch McConnell doesn't even know what he is. Like, he's like a turtle. All these people got to go. Like, someone else is handling them, voting on their behalf. Guy's shitting himself in his diaper, his adult diaper. Like, get them out of there.
Would you move back to the United States if Thomas Massey became president?
Man, if he became president, I'd run for Congress. Like, why not? It's because everything would change. Like, you don't understand how quickly a lot of horrible shit would disappear if we had the right leadership. I mean, look at El Salvador.
And we can't do it without a president, like a legit president.
You gotta have the
way, right? You gotta have
the top guy, or it's not gonna happen. You vote local and all that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that'll undo a little bit of damage in your own town, maybe, but you got to take the presidency. The presidency can appoint the cabinet. So you've got all those cabinet members, department of this, department of that, like they become your people. And so Congress gets neutered at that point, and they always kiss up the power. So whatever the leadership is, his own party will support him. If Thomas Massey got in there and said, we're not going to spend trillions of dollars on war. We're not doing this. Who cares if you have an APAC guy? We're not going to cater to this foreign state anymore. And he's got a lot of policies that was fixing. Like, why aren't we using thorium for energy? Why don't we have antitrust laws? Why isn't there a digital bill of rights to protect free speech? Like, there's a list of things you could do, but you got to have the right guy. And Thomas Massey's the guy.
And so you mentioned the president of El Salvador and how quickly he's legit.
Yeah, I mean, there's things he doesn't do right, and so, but like compared to how El Salvador was, right, where gangs just learned to show, they went from the second most dangerous place in the Western Hemisphere to the second safest. Is Canada and then El Salvador. El Salvador is safer than the United States. Isn't that something?
How did that guy not get killed?
Man, he put the gangs in jail and kept them in jail. You got to understand, and this is my argument against race realists and all that. Like, the demographics of El Salvador did not change at all. They're all the same type of people. He just took that bottom 10th of 1% and put them in cages where they belong. And you could do that in the United States with like, oh, black crime, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but 99.9% of black people are not committing crimes. It's all this little group, and you keep letting them out of jail. Like this asshole that got deferred 14 times ended up stabbing a woman on a bus in North Carolina.
Yeah.
The DAs, the judges, like all that has to be cleaned up. If you would put criminals in jail and keep them in jail, crime would stop. It's all these repeat offenders. And what are you doing? And I swear they let it out on purpose to, keep the middle class and the lower class fighting with each other. So there's never a threat to the hegemony of the rich. But you absolutely, with the right policies, violence is a choice. And this is something Charlie Kirk had just visited Korea and just visited Japan. And I kind of feel bad because I was a little bit mean to him. I didn't know he was about to die, But when he was in Korea, he went to Seoul. First thing, he comes into Incheon Airport. And there's CU. CU's like 7-Eleven. It's like a convenience store. You can just leave your luggage there and do whatever. Go shopping and come back and get your luggage. No one will touch it. I can't imagine like in Chicago, just like leaving your luggage. Like you're not even allowed to do that. It'll get stolen. Someone will put a weapon in it, whatever. But in Korea, it doesn't matter. You could just leave it anywhere and come back. It'll still be there. No one will touch it. In Japan, same thing. You could take your wallet, camera, whatever, put it on the bench in a train station in Japan and come back 2 hours later. It'll still be there. except Tokyo, because there's foreigners and they'll steal. But in an all Japanese area, they don't touch it because this is how the culture is. Because they put criminals in jail and they go to jail, like eating fish heads, and they never get out. But Charlie Kirk was in Seoul, and in Seoul, they have these like giant inflatable couches and stuff outside, all these different weird colors. You can play on them and whatever. He's like, this wouldn't last 35 seconds in America. Like somebody would pop it with a knife. And yeah, he's right. It would. He's like, this is unbelievable. And I'm like, yeah, Charlie. And they do it without Jesus or Muhammad. Like your religious morality does not have a monopoly on like good behavior. East Asia, without these faiths, are perfectly functional societies. The key thing is not mythology or whatever. The key thing is when someone commits crime, you put them in a cage and you don't let them out. I think that's all. It's all it takes. You put criminals in jail, and we don't do that. We let them have third strike, second strike. For the life of me, I don't get it. Like all this stuff. I remember like we're out the small town I'm from. Nobody locked their bike. We didn't even have bike locks. You just park wherever. It's beach town, ride your bike, go surfing, come back, take your bike, go home. We had one person start stealing bikes, and everybody had to then lock their bike. It changed everything because of one thief, because of one guy. And that's how it is. Like you used to trick or treat. You used to be able, when we were younger, you could just go. There's no worry about anything. Go in any house, get food. Like, you can't do that now.
No.
Yeah, and it just takes like a really tiny amount of people to ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. It's not like drugs are not inevitable. You just kill the drug dealers; they don't do it, and it's because budgetary incentives. They kind of like a certain number of criminals around, and it justifies these giant departments and stuff, but they never do anything. And like, I caught all these guys myself. Like, arrest these people. It's funny, like only in America can mobsters be celebrities. Like if you know that guy is an underboss of whatever, like why is he not in jail? Because we're run by criminals. Criminals are not going to prosecute other criminals. Massey would, like he could eliminate all that stuff. He could get the white collar crimes where the most theft is. It's from Wall Street. It's from BlackRock. Like, why don't we enforce antitrust laws? We have them, but we don't enforce them. We could if we had the right leadership. No one's pressuring Trump to do that because they know he's part of the quote unquote elite. He's not going to do it. He bragged about it. Like that was the funniest thing when Hillary was getting on his case. He's like, because you do it too. He's like, yeah, I took advantage of those laws. He sat there and goes, everything you imagine we're doing, we did. Like, that's exactly how it works. But that was like that bit of honesty was refreshing. For him to go, yeah, I declared bankruptcy. Yeah, I avoided taxes. Of course I did. We all do. Don't act like you don't. That was great.
Yeah.
Because it's true. They all do it.
Ryan, this was awesome. I love talking to you, man. You got an incredible memory, man. I don't know how you remember all these names, and that's why guys like me have you on, because I have no memory. It's shot.
But I've seen you rattle it off in the past. You're starting to you just
rattle what off?
I've seen you go, like we've had conversations where
I'll have conversations about flat Earth. Shit, we can go all day. NASA.
Yeah, you do know that because you practice talking about it all the time. But
yeah.
I remember in LA, like talking, and you were like following what I was saying. Most people can't. So
hell yeah, man. Well, thank you. Let's do it again. You're awesome. And what's your X?
It's Rye Liberty, RY, and then the word Liberty, and it's pretty hostile environment in there, but Rye Liberty on X, RyanDawson.org is my site, like my Substack. And on RyanDawson.org on October 7th, I have a 4-hour film about what actually happened on 9/11 and who covered it up.
Oh shit.
You see that man. Trailer? I think I emailed it. They get into it. We get into it.
Thank you very much, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, man. Always a pleasure to come on your show. I'll do it anytime.
Awesome, man. Thank you. See ya.
Peace for you, man.
The Jiu-Jitsu Dojo is the ultimate training ground for life.
Jiu-Jitsu will accelerate the evolution of your being, your consciousness, your soul. Through this amazing art, you will prove to yourself that you can master anything you set your mind to.
Happy birthday, Eddie Bravo.
I leave for Brazil tomorrow.
Are you the Fear Factor guy? I'm like 6 pounds over. Time to sweat it out.
Just imagine someone that has no idea how different your game is.
I'll tell you what this weekend was, man. It was a culmination point where all your hard work comes to like one great moment in time. You showed that you're a fucking champion, guy who goes against convention. You created your own shit and figured interesting ways to get around problems in jiu-jitsu. And shows you that great things are possible if you work hard, if you dedicate yourself, and you use your creativity, and you push through. Your own human potential just goes up.
My 10th Planet Association has grown rapidly to over 70 academies worldwide, and their curriculums are all synced to 10th Planet headquarters located in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Eddie Bravo. I hope to see you on the mats.